But we begin with the 2008 race in Iraq. Tucker Carlson is MSNBC senior campaign correspondent. Newsweek's Howard Fineman is MSNBC's political analyst, and NBC's Andrea Mitchell covers the Clinton campaign. Let me start with Andrea Mitchell. I want to know this. Mark Penn is not the most popular fellow on this block in the campaign. He gets the heat for the bad manners of this campaign, for the bad attitude, for the bad strategy, for the failure of everything, for the lack of a strategy for the caucuses, for everything that goes wrong. Is he going to take the pain and punishment now that he's been kicked?
I don't think so, but for now there's a lot of spinning going back and forth, some people saying that Mark Penn is still going to be part of some of the strategy calls. I've been told from within the campaign that he's not going to be part of the key strategy calls and is not going to be prepping the candidate for debates. So it really is a real break with the Clinton campaign. This is not just for show.
When you fire the coach or you fire your top manager in baseball, it's meant for effect. It's to shake up your public relations, shake up your image. Why do they do this with such a bang?
Well, I think one reason they did it is the Pennsylvania primaries coming up. And to have your top strategist, your chief strategist, trying to cut a trade deal with the government of Colombia while you're saying you want a timeout on all trade deals on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania, just won't do it. Beyond that, what fascinates me is that Hillary picked him to begin with. He's the very symbol of corporate insider lobbying strategy here in Washington. For her to have such a tin ear is what amazes me.
Is this like Nixon firing Haldeman?
Well, I think he's very close to her, and he's been very close to her strategically from the beginning. But she's got other players around her who will take over now.
Well, let's take a look. Here's Mark Penn after a debate back in December.
Well, I think we've made clear that the issue related to cocaine use is not something that the campaign was in any way raising, and I think that's been made clear. I think this kindergarten thing was a joke after Senator.
He just did it again.
This kindergarten thing after this, what the senator did.
They just literally.
Excuse me,
no, Mark. Excuse me. This guy's been filibustering on this. He just said cocaine again. It's like.
I think you're saying cocaine.
No,
I don't know. I think you're saying
I think there's something wrong.
Joe Trippy's turn.
No.
Joe Trippy's turn. Well, there was Joe Trippy for the Edwards campaign pointing out that the lovable Mark Penn has pointed out that Barack Obama had a cocaine history twice in one hardball.
Yeah, he's not a deft performer on television. You can't overstate how much he was disliked from within the campaign. I mean, here's a guy who took a 30-point lead and evaporated it and took $10 million. As someone close to Mrs. Clinton said to me yesterday, I could have done that for $5 million.
You mean his income?
That's right. He took $10 million from the campaign. Look, I'm not completely convinced. I think partly this was a response to pressure from within the campaign. Bill and Hillary Clinton were the only people who supported him. I'm not convinced that he's going to be completely out of it. Dick Morris broke up with the Clintons in public a number of times. They were still addicted to him for long after they were talking to him in public.
So you believe that still that he will play a role behind the scenes, he just won't be in the newspapers. Is that right, Andrea, do you think?
I think he may play a role behind the scenes, but not a really substantive role. I think at some point, you know, they needed clarity on this, and he was such a disruptive presence inside the campaign. Labor was furious. Contributors were furious. He had alienated just about everyone other than Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was taking $300,000 from the government of Colombia, I mean, that kind of conflict of interest, and you have to ask what kind of judgment Hillary Clinton had from the beginning, and Bill Clinton, to permit him to keep his business going. It's been pointed out that Howard Wolfson took a leave of absence from his business when he joined the campaign full-time. Maggie Williams did the same. So he was the only one who was still taking money for clients who were completely antithetical to her stated positions. It raised questions about the authenticity of her opposition to these trade deals.
Well, as Tucker pointed out, he was taking it from both sides. He was raking in the money as a Clinton consultant, while at the same time insisting on keeping his job as the head of the Washington office of Burson Marsteller. The arrogance of it is stupefying, and Hillary's lack of judgment about it is equally so.
But look at this. Right now, we've got the latest polling, by the way, and the Gallup tracking poll as of tonight is that Barack Obama has once again lengthened his lead. It seems when nothing really big is going on, he tends to pull ahead. In other words, there's a normal trend towards him that's interrupted whenever there's a firefight about a big debate or something. Let me ask you this first, Howard. Will this be seen as an upgrade in the campaign or simply just moving the deck chairs around on the Titanic? Is this campaign operation going to get any better than it's been because of a new strategist?
I don't think it's going to get much better. I think it may change in tone a little bit. I think.
Will it be nicer?
I think it might be both a little nicer, but also maybe a little more recalcitrant about giving up. I know that sounds paradoxical. I think it could be both. I think the message will be nicer.
Your jaw dropped, by the way.
Well, Howard Wolfson just got a promotion, so I mean, I think we know it's not going to get nicer.
No. You're wrong, Tucker. I think you're wrong about that. I think Wolfson has in mind his desire to keep Hillary's reputation. He's a New Yorker. He came with her in the Senate race. They've got something to protect, which
capital preservation. This is a big question.
Yeah.
If their goal, and Andrea, jump in here. If their goal is what we call in the financial world capital preservation, in other words, long term.
A workout, right?
Then it's totally different than I'm going to do anything to bring this other guy down.
Exactly. This is not a scorched earth deal, and I think that Howard Wolfson has proved to a lot of people who cover the campaign that he is sort of the more pleasant face of this campaign in contrast to the approach that Mark Penn has had, even with his own people internally.
Wait, can I say something very unpopular?
So we're going to get the Hardball college tour with Hillary Clinton now that Howard gets to make the call. It was Mark holding us up. What do you think, Andrea?
It's all about getting that college tour.
It is all about getting the triple play in Pennsylvania. Now, I'm going to tell you, my job is to get these politicians in front of me so I can ask them some reasonable questions. And we're going to do it with McCain next week. We did it with Barack last week. A lot of people watch these shows. You laugh, Howard.
I'm not laughing.
This is what I do.
I'm saying if they want
I'm trying to get them out in front of us.
If they want to show, they've turned.
If Hillary Clinton wants to take some shots at me, fair enough.
I'm totally for that.
Let's go for it.
Here's what I think, though, that we should understand.
But I think it's not fair at the end of this Pennsylvania primary that we give 2 hours of television to the other guys and that Hillary doesn't get her chance in the sun.
I think she should do it.
Go ahead.
I agree, and good for you for giving her that chance. What I don't agree with, though, there is this kind of consultant world where everything the campaign does is dependent upon the consultants. That's the consultant's point of view. At some point, with Penn gone, at least nominally, they may have to face the fact that the problem is the candidate. They've been blaming Penn. A lot of her intimates have been blaming Penn for all this, blaming the red phone ad, blaming his inevitability strategy, and maybe she's just not such a great presidential candidate. They're going to have to face that at some point.
Who calls the shots in these campaigns? First, Andrew, then, is it the candidate or is it the chief strategist? Who sets the tone for the campaign?
Well,
the boss candidate or the boss strategist?
I think it's the candidate, and I think, in fact, that's certainly the case with Bill and Hillary Clinton. It's the case with Barack Obama and with John McCain. They do set the tone. They set the strategy.
Howard, your thought on that?
Yeah, I think that Hillary thought that Penn somehow had the magic elixir because he helped her husband get reelected president.
And her get the Senate.
But Hillary set up a structure, number one, that had this symbol of insiderhood running it. But he wasn't, the structure was set up in such a weird way that he was chief kibitzer as much as chief strategist.
And he get the poll and paid to run polls to show how his strategy was working.
I think the reason for that was to let Hillary and Bill remain in charge.
Who's the boss, the candidate or the chief strategist?
Well, absolutely the candidate. And I think
you can't fire the candidate.
And also the good things about this campaign come from Hillary, the bad things come from Hillary. And that's just, and consultants always pretend it's always the consultant pulling the strings. No, it's more about the candidate that we recognize.
One rule of thumb should be that the person who's doing strategy should not be the same person doing polling to test the strategy. There is an
And you know what they do on local television? In local television, when the anchor person's not doing well, they fire the news director and tell him he can't fire the anchor. You got a problem with a candidate can't be fired. Anyway, thank you, Tucker Carlson, Howard Fineman, Andrea Mitchell.